actually doing out here today?
We're from a group called IBike Dublin, and we came together about 3 or 4 months ago over a hashtag, really, Free the Cycle Lanes. And it was out of frustration, really, at the state of the cycling infrastructure in Dublin, and particularly the poor enforcement of the existing infrastructure that's here. So what we do is once or twice a week we come out, we come to one of the mandatory cycle lanes like you see here, and we line up alongside it to protect it, to stop people parking on it.
Ciarán, is the infrastructure in Dublin dangerous? How would we improve it?
The infrastructure is patchy. I mean, there's some very good infrastructure in the city, there's some very good cycle lanes in the city, but they're not necessarily interconnected. The cycle lanes that are there are not mandatory cycle lanes, so cars can actually legally park on them or stop on them from time to time. And the ones that are mandatory cycle lanes, there isn't a consistency as to when they're applicable. So some of them are 24 hours, some of them are only in certain hours of the day, and a lot of them aren't at weekends. Really, there's no sort of coordinated approach to it, and there's no, I mean, it needs to be more consistent, I think, in terms of its application.
How can we increase the numbers? How can we get more people, especially women, children, older people? How do we get them out on the road and cycling?
Well, making it safer is the simple way to do it. We know that numbers have increased, and we know that numbers of women cycling has increased, but it wouldn't be too difficult to make it safe to do so. It needs more than just handing out high-vis vests. It needs safe infrastructure, and it needs enforcement of existing infrastructure to make it safe for people to travel. And people will travel if it is safe to do so.
Ciarán, sometimes cyclists are accused of giving themselves maybe a bad name.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, there are certainly cyclists who don't obey the rules of the road, but there are people in all forms of transport who do the same. We can't be responsible for all of those, just in the same way as a motorist, I can't be responsible for the activities of other people, other motorists on the road.
Is a safer, more easily cyclable city and country achievable?
It is, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it, you know, people look at examples like Amsterdam and Copenhagen and say, you know, there are particular circumstances and they've managed to achieve this. But you look at them 20 or 30 years ago and they were exactly the same as we are now. They had the same problems of congestion, they had the same problems of too many private cars in the city centre, and they decided, you know, there was a political will to change it. We don't yet have that political will here. We've got some politicians who are very strongly in favour of it, but generally it isn't happening yet. The recent budget, there was an announcement of increasing in cycling funding, but it's still, we're not sure the exact figures, but it seems to be at best just over 2% of the entire transport budget, which is minuscule really. The UN recommends that 20% of transport funding should be for active travel. We know that the Green Party are pushing for a 10% in Ireland, which would be great. It would be a huge step forward, but we're just not seeing that step forward at the moment. We're seeing people talking about it, which is great, but we haven't seen the action yet. I'm hopeful that it will change, but it's a slow process.